Okay, so now we're going to talk about task. Excuse me. If you go and I'm in my dashboard, not the arena dashboard, my core, my meetings, click on my task. And you see there's quite a few of them here. First of all, what this tells us is that there are most important tasks, and most of those are going to be key results. Everything that has a brown title is a key result. And a key result is like a milestone. It's something, it's a little bit bigger picture thing that has to be accomplished, and it almost always will have subtask. So if you notice here, it says view child task, and it'll show you any subtask for that key result. You can add child task to any key result. It'll show this add child task. And so that's how you organize your task around key results. And that when you're working in an objective, then this all makes a lot more sense. Well, not that it doesn't here, but um, an objective will have certain key results that have to happen, and those key results will have tasks to make those key results happen, which is the general way this is an OKR system works. Now, you can name an individual task as a most important thing, which actually I do quite often on my weekly when I'm preparing for a week. I'll say, this is the most important thing I need to get done this week. And I'll change the task status to MIT. All right. But that's the general setup. And this is on my task. What this is showing is all of my tasks, regardless of what arena they come from. And if you've watched other videos, you know I'm a member of quite a few arenas regardless of what objective it comes from. If it's my task and it is either a most important thing or it's committed or it is due in the next, in my case, 14 days, you can set how long you want your My Task tab to look forward by going to your name and your account and updating your profile. There is um, a selection there for days to look forward on your task, and you just put in any number of days you want it to look forward. I would generally tell people not to look forward too many because you don't want to end up with a window like this, but this is where I live, so my tasks show up here. And the other thing to realize is like I have some committed and one most important task that is late at this point. All of those show up under the due soon or late. So they're there. All right. So that's the My Task setup. Now, let's say we wanted to add a task. Let's just go through this once. So to add a task, you click the Add a Task button, or in meetings, you can add a task and it will be related to a particular question. All right. Because there's add a task choice for every question, which we'll get to later. But let's go through this a little bit. So it can either be a task or a key result. We just discussed the difference. A task is an action you're going to do. A key result is a milestone you need to get to. You choose that, and it'll change a little bit as far as what's showing down here. Well, let's just make it a key result so you can see the difference. Okay. Now, you can add a task and you can choose any of the arenas you're a part of. So if you look, you'll notice there are multiple arenas for which this is a part that I can make it a part of, but you just choose one. This first section here, these first two sections are all about relating the task to either an arena or an objective and a meeting, all of which is extremely important. The more ways you relate it, the more places that task is going to show up exactly where it should. Okay. So this key result, we're going to choose an objective. Well, this particular arena only has one objective. If I choose one of my other arenas, it will go find the objectives for that arena, and you'll see now there are more of them. All right. So let's just pick one because this is a test anyways. Now, that's the primary objective it's related to. I can relate a key result to more than one objective by picking this multiple select. And now at first you say, well, that may be confusing, but for a key result, if a key result is a key result for more than one objective, that tells you how important it is. Okay. It affects a lot of things, and you want it to show up under all those objectives when people are looking at those objectives. Okay. So relate it to as many things as possible. Now, a task cannot be related to other objectives. Okay. It's just the one objective that it's related to. Meeting. Which meeting? Now, these that will always show the meetings that you have access to under choosing from that particular arena. All right. This is where you're going to be held accountable for getting this task done. So pick the meeting that you want people to say, hey, why isn't that done if you're not getting it done? All right. It's very important that the meeting is where you get help, it's where you get advice, it's where you get communicate results, it's where you get held accountable. It's extremely important. And again, you can relate it to other meetings. Okay? All right. Now, that brings us, so that's how you relate it to everything, and it's very important. That brings us to the expected result. Okay? You want to make, and you can get help for all these fields as you go along, but this is where you would put in what you need done. And you can get artificial intelligence support through this. If you click yes, then when you save this, it's going to go out and get some artificial intelligence help based on what you put in here. But this is just a test. Okay. Now you put in the date it's due. Pretty straightforward. Just pick a calendar date. All right. We're going to not make it so far ahead so I can find it back. And then who's the captain? That's the person who's in charge. You can add teammates and then it'll show up on their list of tasks too. And then their statuses. Obviously, you can hold this over there and you'll get different statuses. Visibility, if you mark it private, only the people who are either the captain or task teams will be able to see the task. And then notes. Be sure you put in enough notes to make it clear what this is about. And this is just a free form, you know, field. All right. So that's all it takes to create a task. And you can create a task for, as you can see, you can relate it to practically anything you have access to. And those relationships matter a lot. Now, it's going to save. Now, it'll eventually show up in here. Now, sometimes you have to hit this reload task in order to get a task to show up, but it will eventually show up because I put a soon due date on it. It takes a little bit of time because if I have it search for new task every second, it slows the entire process of the program down. But that's the My Task window. Now let's move on to an Arena dashboard, if it'll let me. There we go. Okay, so an Arena is very similar setup. You'll see I don't have a lot of task in this particular arena. There's a few key results, and those key results have task under them, as you can see, all right, which is the way it should be set up. But this is the arena dashboard. It's very similar to the my dashboard, right? And then the next thing is a particular objective. I think the video is slowing me down here. Okay. So now this is an objective. Now this works slightly different. These tasks are the task and key results for this particular objective. If you hit add key result, it's going to give you the key result for that particular. It's going to link it to this objective. Okay. It, other than that, it looks very much the same. Key results, task, most important, committed, begun. Backlogs are just kind of ideas. They're sitting back there, and the ones that are late are due soon. Very, very similar. Now, one thing I want to show you, and this is true that anywhere you're looking at a task, but it is, you can edit the entire task by clicking on this, or there are some things you can click on that you can edit on the spot. So if I click on just the title of the task, it'll bring up a window and it'll show me the title. If there's notes, they would be there. This one doesn't have any notes. And if I want to edit the title or the notes, I click on edit results and I can do that. Okay. So, but this has a due date. If I click that date, I can just change the date. I don't have to edit the whole thing. So I'm just going to move it a few days. It'll still show up late. That way you can see how it's going to work. Um, the the status of a task is very important. This is where you pick um, your choices: backlog, begun, committed. Most important thing, when a task is fulfilled, you mark it as fulfilled. If it's failed, you mark it as failed. It'll ask you why you failed and what are you going to do different next time. And you can, yes, you can delete a task, okay, by trashing it. It's all pretty straightforward, but it is quicker and easier to move, to change things by clicking on those. Um, Rather than when you click edit, it brings up a much more complex window. But you can do it either way, it doesn't matter. All right. Now, interesting enough, it also lists the objective here. All right. So if you click on that, it opens the objective window naturally. We were already in an objective window, so it's going to open up the exact same window. But now, what I think a person should do is you should set up a daily meeting for yourself. And one of the questions in that daily meeting is, do I have any late task? Or what's the most important task for me to do today? It keeps you moving things along. I have a weekly planning meeting, and in that weekly planning meeting, I go to every objective and I see what's late, what's not late, and I pick out what's the most important thing for me to do this week for this objective. And sometimes I have to create that task because I realize it and I mark it as a most important thing. And if I plan my week that way, then when I go to my task, the things that are most important and the things that are committed is all I have to focus on. I need to get these things done, right? It Having a daily meeting with yourself to plan your day and a weekly meeting with yourself to plan your week is critical to long-term success. And it largely does revolve around these tasks. Now, on my weekly meeting, I look at every objective and I look at all my KPIs and bring them up to date. So that's just how I keep on top of things, and it's how I would recommend you keep on top of things too.